I knew was so horrible. And I would give anything if I could go back and change it.
Welcome back. That was an emotional Susan Smith yesterday, pleading for parole after 30 years behind bars. Smith was 23 when she concocted a story that a black man carjacked her and kidnapped her two sons, who were 3 and 14 months. After a 9-day search, Smith admitted to drowning Michael and Alex, rolling her car into a South Carolina lake with her children strapped in their car seats.
It was a story that shocked the nation. Joining us now is ABC's Morgan Norwood and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmire. Good to see you both. Morgan, we'll start with you. So this was an emotional parole hearing. I mean, at one point she burst into tears begging for her release. Break down the proceedings for us.
Yeah, incredibly emotional, guys. Thanks for having me. I mean, the moment that she was allowed the time to speak and directly address the panel, I mean, you saw it there. She burst into tears. At one point, it was really hard for her to gather her thoughts. I mean, she was apologetic. We did see some remorse. She talked about drowning her two kids and how horrific it was. Those were the words that she used. Her attorney also testifying on her behalf, talking about some of the mental health treatment that she'd been under over the past few years. But at one point during the hearing, and I thought this was really poignant, the panel also zeroing in on her behavior behind bars. I mean, she had been in trouble even while locked up.
Yeah, the horrifying behavior, but also the horrifying lie that she told. Brian, I'm curious, was this the expected outcome?
Oh, absolutely. If you're looking at it from a legal standpoint, or if you're just from a personal standpoint, legally speaking, this is the first time someone is going up for parole. They often don't get the successful result there. It's a notorious case. It's a double homicide. And also, if you look at just South Carolina as a whole, I think you quoted this in another piece, 8% of people who go up for parole end up getting actual parole. So it's a very small number. So I don't think anyone imagines what would have happened. But then again, think of the nature of the case. This isn't just a homicide. This is the homicide of a person's two children. And we always knew that Mr. Smith, the ex-husband and father, was always going to come out against this. And we didn't know what he was going to say at first, but you could imagine that anything he would have said would have weighed heavily upon a judge towards not granting parole.
So Morgan, what does the parole process look like moving forward for Susan Smith?
Yeah, good question. So she is eligible for parole every 2 years. So 2026, she could go before the panel again. I think that's going to be the big question, if she gives it a little bit of time to breathe a little bit. I mean, obviously there were concerns about her behavior behind bars, so she wanted to show the panel that she can walk the straight and narrow here and not get in any more trouble. I think for the parole board, they're looking for rehabilitation to make sure that you've learned from your mistakes, but then they're also assessing the risk as well. If they let you out, if they release you, are you going to return back to the life that you had before, or are you going to be a law-abiding citizen?
Brian, you mentioned the fact that her husband spoke out. He said he's going to come every time she comes up for parole to fight her being released. How much does that weigh on a parole board's decision?
Well, again, it comes down to the fact that he is probably one of the greatest victims in this case. Of course, the children are the victims because they passed away, they were murdered. But he has the opportunity to be a victim in the sense that he lost his children. They were taken away from him.
He has to live with it now.
And he has to live with it. He talked about how he almost he committed suicide, how he almost tried to harm himself in other ways. And I think from a legal standpoint, the position that he has carries a lot of weight. Of course, the fact that she had more than 10 infractions and violations, sleeping with guards and things of that nature, that doesn't help. But if he continues to be strong in this position, I don't see a possibility of Susan Smith getting out in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, whatever it may be.
All right, what a story. Morgan Norwood and Brian Buckmire, thanks to you both for being with us. We appreciate it.